Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar, From Anxious to Empowered, Equipping Students and Educators with the Happiness Advantage. We will start at the top of the hour. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar, From Anxious to Empowered, Equipping Students and Educators with the Happiness Advantage. Before we start, I'd like to share a few housekeeping items. Your phones are muted for the duration of the call. You can ask a question or post a comment in the chat window. If you'd like to take a moment and find the chat window now, feel free to share where you're calling in from, your name, and since everyone's dealing with the cold, perhaps you'd like to share the temperature where you are. The webinar will be recorded and sent to all registrants, and it will be posted on the AASA website. AASA is pleased to bring you this webinar from our friends at International Thought Leader Network, or you, as you may know them, Orange Frog. The award-winning happiness workshop, the Orange Frog Workshop, and the accompanying Orange Frog Classroom, based on Sean Acort's groundbreaking best-selling book, The Happiness Advantage, catalyze a positive transformation in school cultures. By focusing on cultivating happiness and well being, these programs equip staff and students with practical tools for optimism, resilience, and a growth mindset. This innovative approach not only enhances individual well being, but also creates a more positive and supportive learning environment, ultimately leading to improved academic performance and overall student success. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Kimberly Tufnell. Kim is an accomplished educator with over 30 years of experience, spanning roles such as special education teacher, middle school principal, superintendent, and assistant superintendent of special education. She holds a master's degree in education with endorsements in school administration, directorship of special education, and teacher consultant. After retiring from public education, Kim is now a master certified trainer in Sean Acor's Happiness Advantage and the Orange Frog programs, sharing her expertise to foster well-being and success in educational and organizational settings. Take it away, Kim.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Tammy, and a huge thank you to AASA for making this webinar possible. We really appreciate and value our strong partner, and we're thrilled that so many of you have created the space to be with us here today. We will answer any of the questions that you might have. Andrew will be monitoring the chat for us, so please feel free to put your questions in there, and then we'll take some time at the end of the webinar to address them for you. But to start, we would first like to start off on a positive note and to exemplify the Tetris effect, one of the 7 principles of the happiness advantage, which simply refers to the idea that our brains can become trained to habitually scan for and recognize positive patterns. So what I'd like you to do is please share one good thing that's happened in the past 24 hours. So let's get this off on a positive note. See if you can scan what is something that's happened really good in the past 24 hours. And the cool thing about when you share that, it makes you feel good. And then when you share it with other people and they get to participate in that as well and hear good things from others, it makes other people feel good as well. So Andy, are you seeing anything in the chat yet?
Okay, so we have Rachel, extra time with my family since I'm at home due to the weather in Florida, which is where I am. So good luck with the snow there in northern Florida. Dr. Cooper, snow day. We never get snow. AJ Ernst, successful surgery for a family member. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Guys, congratulations. That's great.
Tyler, I managed to change a light fixture without getting electrocuted. That is awesome.
That's always a good thing.
That would be my wheelhouse. Lucas, we are back at school today, so that's exciting. And Denise had FaceTime with a grandson, which is awesome. Always great to do that. Hillary, a teacher, had a great reflection in a post-conference today. So that's great, Hillary.
Those are always awesome. So do we want to keep going? And Andy, people can continue to add things in there so others can read the good things that are happening all over the nation. So we'll keep going and tap back into those later. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. So International Thought Leader Network, ITLN, is in an exclusive partnership with positive psychologist and researcher Sean Aker. Sean had one of the most popular courses in happiness on the Harvard campus for 7 years, has one of the 15 most watched TED Talks of all time, is the international bestseller of The Happiness Advantage and Big Potential, and has the most popular training workshop on happiness, the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop. So oftentimes people say, so where did the orange frog come from? So Sean took all of his research and his findings from the Happiness Advantage and put it into a parable called The Orange Frog. In the parable, the main character is Spark, and Spark transitions to being a frog at the exact same time as some of his friends, Bull, Plop, and Misty. But when Spark emerges, he has orange spots, which makes him an outlier and somewhat feared by the other frogs because he's different. As the parable continues, Spark finds the more things he thinks that are positive, the more things he does that he enjoys, like swimming and helping others, the happier he is and the more orange he becomes. And when he becomes more orange, he finds it to be an advantage. So Spark is faced with a crossroads. He has to decide if he's going to be normal, which is merely average, or if he's going to be fully orange and awesome. The metaphors and the characters within the parable resonate with everyone and are applicable to all workplaces, even school environments that students have been able to identify with. So everyone can identify with the meaning behind them. One of the big aha moments that Sean found with the formula between happiness and success was actually flawed. Because many of us were raised with the notion that if we worked really hard, we would be successful and then we'd be happy. But this has been proven to be the wrong approach. Extensive research shows that happy brains outperform negative and neutral brains. Being in a positive state increases dopamine by 30%, making us more thoughtful, creative, more flexible and adaptable, and much more equipped to solve problems. So what does that mean when we think about our student? What messages are we sending them? Because happiness leads to success, not the other way around. Because when we're working hard and we achieve that goal, most often then the goalpost changes and we just keep going. But if we can put our brains in a positive state, that's when we start feeling that success. Together with finding that happiness leads to success, there's also 3 more important findings. Happiness is influenced by our own intentions coupled with learning and experience. Happiness is an advantage. Happiness can be trained and transferred. It is a choice. And happiness is contagious. It spreads to others. And research has also found that one of the greatest predictors of a school's success is the culture of the building. And that's when staff and students and families feel a profound connection. They feel safe, they feel valued, they feel loved. Positive environments help people be more productive and perform at higher levels. So the Orange Frog Workshop, H360, Happiness 360, and the Orange Frog Classroom is an investment in the happiness and well-being of staff and students. It's a whole child program, and it also includes opportunities for families as well. So why is Happiness Advantage Workshop and the Orange Frog Classroom and all of this important? Well, we all know that we have, potentially a mental health crisis. And in a recent January 2025 article by economist David Blanchflower, economic professor at Dartmouth who studies happiness and is also an advisor to the United Nations, Blanchflower discusses how the U-shaped curve of happiness, that there's a problem with it and that there's a collapse in the well-being of the young. So accordingly, there have been over 600 papers that have been published talking about the U-shape in age in happiness. And so what that says is that generally people are happier in their youth, and that as we go through life and we experience the stressors of midlife, then it kind of dips back down, but then it comes back later in later life. Blanchflower states now that they're seeing an unprecedented downturn in the well-being of youth, and the U-shaped happiness curve is now closer to a straight line, with life satisfaction highest at the end and the lowest at the beginning of adulthood. So the graph on the left depicts the former happiness curve, and while the graph on the right shows the increase in feelings of despair and sadness and hopelessness since 1993. Now, typically at the top of those charts for despair and sadness have been Native Americans and prime age, less educated whites, but now we're seeing an increase in young women rising to those same levels. And the data first came out from the United States, but the trend is now being seen and observed in over 80 countries. So the long-studied midlife crisis has now been replaced with a mental health crisis of the young, and it's global. So Andy, if you would please, Andy will share this article from David Blanch Flower in the chat, so you have access to that. And Andy, if you would also put the other one that we were referencing the other day, the one from KQED, so those who are participating will have access to that information as well. So this is our why. This is why Happiness Advantage and Orange Frog are so important, if now more than ever. So the lessons in Happiness 360 are aligned with the Castle 5, self-awareness, self-management, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, aligned with 21st century skills for success and the Common Core, and the lessons in Orange Frog Classroom align with the Castle framework as well. Happiness 360 was developed in partnership with Cardinal Schools in Iowa under the leadership of Joel Pedersen. Joel was one of the first superintendents to bring the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop to a school, and the success is still being acknowledged today. The district was one of the poorest in Iowa and was on the bottom of the lowest performing schools in the United States. With an investment in the workshop for staff and the lessons of H360, where students K-12 learn the 5 proven tactics to retrain their brains to positive, Cardinal continues to be an extremely successful district. Joel went on to be Superintendent of the Year, and he's still one of our greatest Orange champions. H360 is considered a tier 1 support for all students. It's trauma responsive, helping to teach emotional intelligence, self-regulation. It's investing in students' well-being. It creates culture of support and empathy, builds trust so that students do feel safe and valued. And while we say it's a tier 1 support for all students, it can certainly be used in small groups with, a social worker or a counselor as well, maybe more targeted for some of those other students who may need a little bit more. It takes the 5 proven tactics, evidence and research base, helping them retrain their brains to see the positive and giving them the advantage and the tools to help them grow into healthier young adults. Let's hear
Hi,
from
this is
Sean.
Sean Acor. I'm a happiness researcher from Harvard, and in 2010, I published a book called The Happiness Advantage, which highlighted remarkable research that proved that happy brains outperform negative and neutral brains on virtually every dimension of success in life. To share that research in schools and companies, we created a training program. A few years back, we started to uncover evidence that suggested when people shared that training at home with their families, their success at work and at school improved. In 2018, I published Big Potential, which included research that suggested that both our happiness and success are interconnected with others and best pursued with one another. Since that time, we've been researching and developing ways to bring happiness to all parts of people's lives and ways to pursue happiness through meaningful interactions with others. This training, designed to interconnect teachers, staff, parents, and of course kids, and fully integrate happiness in 3 critical areas: their experience of learning with other kids, their experience of interacting with adults at school, and their experience of happiness with family members at home. We will look specifically at 5 habits that we will attempt to bring to life. These are: number 1, expressing gratitude; number 2, reliving positive experiences by writing about them. I like to call this the doubler. Number 3, engaging in cardio exercise. I call this the fun 15. Number 4, meditation. And number 5, doing conscious acts of kindness. And before we get started with all of that, we will first learn about a story about a frog named Spark.
So there's 6 modules in H360. It starts with the introduction to the Orange Frog. Then there's gratitude, the doubler, fun 15, meditation, and conscious acts of kindness. Lessons are 15 to 20 minutes each, intended to be done once a week and for 24 weeks. Students first read the parable in their specific grade level form. We have a children's book for the elementary age, a graphic novel, comic book for students in middle school, and then the regular Orange Frog book for students in high school. And students easily relate to the parable and the metaphors within it. The lessons in H360 are on our H360 platform. They come with the lesson plans, PowerPoint presentations, interactive activities, and customizable templates for newsletters, superintendent updates, parent letters, and staff challenges. So let's take a look at one of our schools and their return on investment with Happiness Advantage, Orange Frog, and H360. This is Schaumburg District 54 in Schaumburg, Illinois, who was featured on Good Morning America. And we're going to share a little bit more about Schaumburg in a little bit. But as you can see, after implementing Orange Frog Workshop and H360, this return is quite incredible. First, we've got 5% increase in attendance. Students were 3 times more engaged, with 89.2% highly engaged. A 55% reduction in suspensions, 92% staff retention, and my absolute favorite, when you have kids coming into school who are engaged and they're not being suspended, 500 less students identified as elevated risk on universal screeners. That's pretty incredible. So let's see another return on investment in another one of our schools. This is Lyons Central School District in Lyons, New York. And this is their return on investment just with the first year, which was implementing the Orange Frog Workshop for all staff and included some community members as well. Staff optimism compared to other years in the past, 87.8% feeling more optimistic this year than in previous years. And look at the band and chorus numbers in 7th to 12th grade. 42 students in band and chorus the year before. And then after the implementation of Orange Frog, it rose to 129 students. Students are feeling more connected and want to be a part of things. And then they implemented H360. And here's what we see happened as their key educational impact. You can take a little bit closer look this way. So for student refusal rate to take the assessment, New York requires less than 5%. You can see that the year before it was 8.3% who refused to take the assessment in the 2021-22 school year, and in 22-23 that dropped to 2.1%. Their 3 through 8 combined ELA and math scores increased from 17.6% to 27.1%, and their middle school math proficiency went from 2.9% to 32.4% in 1 year. That was outstanding to see. Another area where the impact of Orange Frog Workshop and H360 have been successful is in 13 out-of-school time sites within True North Community Services in West Michigan. True North is a very large nonprofit with over 80 programs that provide services to Newaygo and surrounding communities, including heat and energy assistance, hunger prevention, housing crisis services, and the list goes on. So as most of you know, 21st Century Community Learning Center programs are funded through very competitive federal grants. Programs are required to demonstrate that they'll use best practices, including research or evidence-based practices, to provide educational and related activities that will complement and enhance the academic performance, achievement, post-secondary and workforce preparation, and positive youth development for the students that they serve. True North has successfully written 3 different grant applications for their 13 sites that are in 4 different counties in Michigan, with the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop, H360, and Orange Frog Classroom indicating that activities included within Happiness Advantage and Orange Frog have met the specific rubric requirements for evidence-based practices, SEL, professional development, and parent engagement. And let's take a look at what happened in those 13 sites. So part of the required requirement of 21st century programming and OST programs is the annual evaluation. And just after 1 year of implementation, True North programs saw improvements in just about every area. Those specific improvements are noted here. Saw an increase in enrollment, 22% increase in enrollment. Average days attended by students in the OST program increased 24%. And the school days positive impression rate of the program increased from 73% the year before to 93%. That's a 27% increase. And the parents who felt the program was great with a 96 positive impression rate the year before, even that rose to 99%. One of the areas that needed the most work and was a goal of the program was to increase the communication with the school day staff, because staff are hired and are employees of True North. So they're a community-based organization providing these services in the school districts. And so they really wanted to improve their communication, and 85% of the school day staff agreed or strongly agreed that the communication had improved. That's an increase of 35%. Plus, 9 out of 13 of the site coordinators are still with the program. And for those who have tried to hire out of school time staff, you know how difficult it is to keep staff, find very good quality staff. So the fact that they still have 9 out of 13 is a pretty good statistic as well. So here you can see how the programs implemented Orange into just about everything that they do. So down in the left-hand corner, that picture there, the students in the elementary program are doing the Orange Frog play, which is included with H360 and Orange Frog Classroom. They're doing it for the parents. They put that on for Lights On after school. And each site also has their own mascot costume. So Spark gets to go on all the field trips, and he's a big part of the communities there. And through an enormous amount of feedback and survey data, and we're asking what's working for you, what isn't working for you, what would you like to see as part of the program, we developed phase 2. And thanks to our friends at Boone County, Kentucky, who came up with the acronym for SPARK, and they developed that into their own PBIS program. We loved it so much that we took it one step further and developed our second set of lessons for the elementary students, differentiated for students K-6, because we know some of our elementaries are still going to 6th grade, and to focus students on creating a positive self-image, resilience, empathy, responsibility, and confidence. And knowing the incredible impact of the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop for adults, we developed the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop Student Edition, where the morning of the workshop is essentially the same as it is for the adults. And then in the afternoon, it's spent on doing gratitude walks. And then students work with their teams to devise their kindness wave plan that will help improve their school culture to one that's more positive and more inclusive. So we chose to develop the second stage of the classroom lessons to focus on elementary students. And in doing so, and thinking of child development theories, Erikson's stages of development encompassed exactly what we were trying to accomplish with Spark. They were specifically designed with this stage of development in mind. So children who need to cope with new social and academic demands, success leads to a sense of competence, while failure leads to a sense of inferiority. So during stage 4, a child is learning various emotional and social skills. It's important that their parents or caregivers are supporting them as they face those challenges and make attempts to navigate those on their own. For a child to feel industrious, they need to feel that they're capable and competent. Without the opportunities to develop new skills, they may end up feeling inadequate or that they just don't measure up. And through proficiency at play and schoolwork, children are able to develop a sense of competence and pride in their abilities. And by feeling competent and capable, children are able to also form a strong self-concept. So when children are supported during this stage, they develop a greater sense of self-esteem, and self-esteem is listed to so many positive benefits, including better mental health and physical health, confidence in their abilities, higher perception of success, and of course, a positive self-image. So there are two principles that are foundational to positive psychology, and that is what I think matters and what I do matters. And if knowing that our experiences influence our belief systems, and when we look at how those are impacting our students, we have to work with our students to help change some of the negative beliefs that they may have about themselves. So we need to engage them in repeated positive experiences at school, especially if they come from very difficult backgrounds. Children who are encouraged and commended by parents and teachers develop belief in their abilities, and those who receive little or no encouragement from parents and teachers and their peers will start to doubt their abilities. In fact, there's a 2015 or 2016 study that showed that teachers' belief in students' abilities in math and reading had a greater impact on their performance than what their parents had believed. So think about how much time our children spend in school, and being in a supportive environment is critical to this stage in their development. So in Spark, there are 5 modules in Spark, which follows the Revisiting the Orange Frog. The program offers a variety of lesson lengths from short 15 to 20 minutes, standard lessons from 40 to 60 minutes, and there are extended projects within the lessons as well. They're designed to be easily integrated into science, math, writing, and provide opportunities for meaningful connections and extended learning. Each lesson also includes Spark suggested reading list that includes read alouds to enhance the learning, and many of the books are already available as read alouds on YouTube. The program also comes with a materials list that includes everything you will need for the entire program to ensure a very smooth implementation. Included with our Spark lessons is the new upper elementary chapter book with a teacher reading guide. And then we also introduce our newest character in a new read aloud in the Respect module, and her name is Lily P. And it was important for us to have a frog that our students with disabilities could identify with. So Lily P transitions with the latest group of frogs, but Lily P has a hind limb that hasn't quite developed. So Lily has difficulty swimming and doing other things, but she also has a superpower. She's an incredible singer, and she uses that superpower to help those who weren't exactly kind to her. Lily P, just like Spark, is an outlier. So each lesson is completely scripted, and much of the feedback that we received is teachers have confidence in giving them to guest teachers or maybe a teacher assistant. They don't need to be done by a teacher because they are so scripted, which allows for implementation with fidelity. And each of them are differentiated. So a lot of the worksheets have been differentiated for different levels of students throughout. Some of them we have rebus inventory, sentence starters, paragraph starters, story starters. And so we hope to have hit the mark. So even within one classroom, there are different worksheets and activities that can accommodate different levels of students learning. And for our middle and high school students, we have the Happiness Advantage Orange Frog Workshop student version. So here you can see some pictures of a couple of our different workshops. Students spend the entire day with master facilitators. During the interactive morning, they delve into the parable and the research, identifying the key glossary issues, the herons, the deluge, the thrall, and transition week. They identify social scripts. Those are those unwritten rules that guide our behavior. They find social scripts that might be limiting their potential and determine what social scripts might need to be removed or some others that might need to be strengthened. And they learn the 2 most important beliefs that are foundational, that what I think and what I do matters, and how important those beliefs are in developing a positive sense of self. They build trust with their team throughout the day, and they take on a team identity. And that trust building allows for an incredible afternoon of gratitude sharing. And then they develop their plans to spread kindness throughout their school, which we call the kindness wave. So as stated before, the metaphors in the parable are relatable to all walks of life. Students identify what we call the glossary term transition week, the deluge, the thrall, and the herons. You can see some of their posters here that we have them chart as a team. So the deluge are those big impact problems that we can't stop, but we can prepare better for. Transition week, all the changes going on around us that make us feel like we can't catch up, find stability. Herons are the pesky problems that we put off, usually not so dangerous if we believe that our behavior matters. And the thrall is that feeling we get when there's little meaning at work and at school and we don't feel valued. So students' insight into their culture and what's going on at school are invaluable. They get it. And it's amazing to watch as they work as a team to figure out all of their impact problems that are happening around them. So once they identify their glossary issues, we then challenge them to transform their pond, aka their school, just like the frogs were challenged to do in the parable and transform their own pond for. The glossary issues are always going to be there, but finding creative, flexible solutions for the problems is what happens when we start to put our brains in a positive state. So we challenge the students to be the absolute best at changing their school culture to orange. So in their teams, they have to come up with their team name, preferably in pond theme, of course, their own nicknames, 3 things their team will be known for, and the ever popular team chant. So here's a look at some of our high school students a year ago doing their team presentations.
Our team is known for radiance, positivity, and unity. Do you want to start the cheer? Yes. You ready? Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Orange it up, go ahead, go ahead. Orange it up, go ahead. Orange it up, go ahead, go ahead. Orange it up, go ahead. You got to orange it up. Orange it up, orange it up, orange it up. Say what, say what, say what? What? Orange, you happy. Orange, orange, you happy, happy.
I love doing that. We love watching them put those together. It's a lot of fun. In the afternoon, the teams begin to transform their ponds into one that's more positive. In their kindness way plan, they determine the name of their project, the length of their project, the starting date, the schedule of events, what they hope to achieve, and then, of course, their end goal. They identify what social scripts might influence their success, and if there's any new social scripts that might need to be implemented to help them achieve their goal. They must identify their herons and the deluge that might create fear and uncertainty in the current state, and then what support they might need in order to be successful. We also ask the other teams how they can help others stick to their kindness way plan, and then how we might help other teams with theirs. This is the social investment principle. And here you can see a couple of the kindness way plans that teams have put together. So once they have theirs all put together, then we have them present them to the full group. So here is a group of middle school students last fall, middle school boys, 6 amazing middle school boys who came up with their kindness plan called Discrimination Elimination.
Our project is the Discrimination Elimination. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and befriend less popular kids and like new kids. And we're gonna have a lunch buddy / outreach system. And we're gonna eat with kids who are just eating alone. We're gonna go sit with them and talk to them. And every Friday we're gonna try and give out treats to everyone so everyone feels included. And our goal is to create an environment where everyone is included and feels safe to talk to others without being judged.
Wow. A goal to create an environment where everyone feels okay speaking out and speaking to others without being judged. Our kids get it, and it's so much fun and so rewarding to be a part of this. I love this quote by Dr. Joyce Brothers. Feeling gratitude isn't born in us, it's something we are taught, and in turn, we teach our children. So watching the students give their teachers and administration some love and some appreciation is also great. So they take some of their things that they decide where they're going to go. We work with the districts if we need transportation. Some students might go down to the elementary, middle, depending on what grade level they're working with. And they go and see teachers who have been influential and staff who have been influential to them. And they give some kindness and appreciation to them. So this video shows a student doing just that.
I wanted to give you this because I'm very appreciative of you, and I really appreciate you always listening to me and listening to my complaining. And you've seen me cry, and I just think
Will you hug me now? Yes! That's awesome. I'm gonna give you 2 frogs.
Well, thanks.
So the assistant principal gave her a frog because what was happening on the day that we were there doing their workshop, they were having a scavenger hunt for the middle and high school students. They had bought hundreds of little teeny plastic frogs and they were hidden all over the school. And so kids were in a scavenger hunt looking for the frogs. And of course, there was going to be a prize at the end of the day for the students who found those. So it was really cool. She was excited to get a frog because she didn't have the opportunity to be involved in the scavenger hunt. So as I said, we're going to come back to Schaumburg. I want to share this with you, Schaumburg District 54. But first, I mean, our goal is to bring 100 high schools to have them participate in the Student Happiness Challenge this school year. But we really also want to highlight Schaumburg District 54 success. And just take a look at this video from Good Morning America.
Look at what we found at one incredible school. Inside this junior high school in Schaumburg, Illinois, they're embracing the idea that happier kids and staff
What kind of things make you happy?
make better learners and teachers.
I like this exercise because there's no math in it.
It's a year-round happiness curriculum where one of their key components is gratitude. I know what I'm grateful for.
My pets, 3 cats.
In another class, students write letters to someone they're grateful for. 12-year-old Allie wrote to her grandfather to tell him how much she loves and appreciates him.
How does it feel to write that?
It just makes me excited. It just makes you feel all bubbly inside and makes you smile.
I see you're getting a little emotional.
Yeah.
Is it powerful to write all of this down?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Happy.
Yeah, you feel happy?
Yeah.
12-year-old Zach Miller sharing his letter with his dad.
I want to be the person I am today without your help. Thank you.
You wrote that for me. Thanks, big guy. It's nice to know you appreciate me, bud.
Your basic philosophy is it's not enough to teach these kids math and reading.
We're going to teach them how, through this curriculum, how to be better people. And we really believe that's the most important thing that we do.
The architect of this push for gratitude is Sean Acor, author of The Happiness Advantage, where he outlines how gratitude at any age can reduce stress and depression, boost productivity, and increase both optimism and social connection, 2 of the greatest predictors of long-term happiness.
Why is gratitude something that we should be trying to operationalize in our lives?
All of this research shows that we can create these happiness hygiene habits, that if for just 2 minutes a day, we got a kid to think of 3 things that they're grateful for, or if we expressed our gratitude once over the course of the day to somebody else, your brain basically creates a background app, taking some of your resources to scan all day long for the positive.
So over the next few days, I tried it out. There were 2 assignments. First, every day, I thought about 3 new things I was grateful for, sometimes right before bed.
What am I grateful for?
Another time with my son, Alexander.
You and Mommy were away for a couple of days and you came back today, and I'm happy about that. I made a new friend today, and Mommy and I had a delicious dinner.
With me?
Yeah, you didn't eat it.
I also took time every day to write gooey emails to people I really felt deserved it.
I'm actually sending to my meditation teacher who spent an hour and a half on the phone with me the other day in a really useful way. So I'm going to send him a thank you.
We also recruited 13-year-old Chase Hampton from that school in Schaumburg to do the same.
I'm thankful for video games, my cat, my teachers, Mr. Chris, our principal. He does a lot for me. It just makes you and your whole self feel happy.
But one thing was still bothering me.
There are many people who have really grave personal circumstances, illness, abuse within the family.
Is it possible for those people to be grateful? Is this too much to ask for people in certain extreme circumstances?
We've found levels of happiness at every single aspect of this world in every environment we've looked at so far, from cancer wards to prisons to people that have been in combat zones. We can find meaning in the daily activities that could move us forward. I think happiness could remain an option wherever we live in the world.
Cool stuff. This is my absolute favorite quote from Sean. See, what we're finding is it's not necessarily the reality that shapes us, but the lens through which our brain views the world that shapes our reality. And if we can change the lens, not only can we change our happiness, we can change every single educational and business outcome at the same time. And this is why we do the work that we do. So we do have some upcoming events in partnership. We have a partnership with AASA. And so at Schaumburg District 54, Andy Duras and his team, AASA and ITLN, are hosting the Leadership for Wellbeing and Learning April Summit. That will begin April 9th at 3 o'clock and end at 3 o'clock on April 11th. And so we strongly encourage you to go there. You will learn so many things. Sean will be there, meet Andy Duras, see all of the great things that they have going there. And we have a QR code in which Andy also will put that information in the chat for you if you're interested in looking at that. And before that Leadership for Wellbeing and Learning Summit, we will be having a public workshop at Schaumburg District 54, hosted by Andy Duras and Schaumburg. That workshop will be facilitated by our good friend and colleague who is a master facilitator and an author, a motivational speaker, just all around great guy, master facilitator, Devin Hughes. So you could do the public workshop and then go right into the Wellness Summit. That will be happening as well. And then we also have our public Train the Trainer program in Alexandria, Virginia, hosted by our partner AASA at AASA headquarters, April 29th through May 1st. You can also check us out at NCE in New Orleans, where we will have a booth and be doing a session. And then also the following week at the National After School Association Convention in Nashville. And so if you'd like more information, of course, the email address is up there, info@orangefrogexperience.com. Please feel free to drop us a line. We can answer any questions we have that you might have, and we look forward to connecting. So we thank you for joining us today. If you have some questions, if you put those in the chat, I think we can take a look at those. Andy, are you checking anything out that we might be able to answer for someone?
I am checking, Kim, and just while we're waiting for some to come up, maybe it might be good while people are putting questions into chat to tell us a little bit about your experience, because you've had extensive experience on this before you became a master certified trainer, and maybe add some specific examples of how educators could integrate Orange Frog activities into their daily routines, in particular with students.
So, and the reason why I'm so passionate about this work is because I have seen firsthand how quickly it changes the culture. And when I was director of special education, before I became a master facilitator, I did bring this to my team at the ISD. And I have, as I said, never seen anything so quickly take off. And what was so beautiful is just watching the entire team come together in an ISD when you have all of the itinerant staff who are deployed to the local districts for special education services, and we're talking teacher consultants, the school social workers and school psychologists, having them come together with one common goal of spreading happiness. We really saw those partnerships with the local districts really improve. My team actually picked up, they started being the ones who became these happiness ambassadors for the ISD. They were the ones then that were doing the birthday cards. We had somebody who took over this happiness coalition who started putting out challenges to everybody. And so it really takes off, and it happens almost organically, which is just beautiful. When I was at True North and for our out of school time, I really think that I know it's difficult for superintendents. I was there and middle school principals to find more time to put additional lessons in. I do believe this is extremely important. And as Andy Duras says, one of the most important things that we can teach our kids. But out of school time is another place where we've had great success. And then that really builds that relationship with the school day staff as well, because then we've had students who are recognizing school day staff during the out of school time, but that time to implement those lessons and bring families into it as well has just been really powerful that way. So I wouldn't be so passionate if I didn't see that it worked. And I know that it does. And I wish when I was a principal that I had this program for my students, for my middle school students. So I was really excited when I got involved in it and saw that now that we've taken the lessons to the classroom as well. And so when it's really difficult to find that time, the lessons can be short, brief, one time a week. And because they are so scripted, it doesn't necessarily have to be the classroom teacher. If there's a small group that could benefit from it, perhaps a teaching assistant or support staff, school counselor, social worker, I know you're busy, but that might be a program that would be successful for them to use as well.
Great, thanks, Kim. What about how can we sustain the positive momentum created by Orange Frog strategies over the long term?
Well, one of the things that we do say, it's not a Band-Aid approach for sure. This is a long-term sustainable program under the right leadership. And like I said, organically, you're going to see some of your leaders in your teams step up and keep this going. They crave it. They want it to keep going. And certainly it starts off at the beginning of the year like any other thing that happens. I want you to know, though, this is not like the new and shiny. Many of our districts say this is just the way that we're doing business now. And so when you become a kinder, gentler, and putting people's brains in a positive state, everybody wants to get on board. But certainly we support you all the way with that transition. We check in with you with action plan rallies. What you come away with in the one-day workshop is an individual plan. So you do have something tangible that you follow. We want you to follow that for 21 days so you can make those changes yourself to help your brain become more positive. And then when we do the 2-day workshop with big teams and staff, we actually take happiness tactics and the principles, we embed those into existing work routines, and we work with you to identify those. And so it just becomes those tactics are implemented. And so you're doing the business now. It becomes, like I said, the way you do business. And we're there to support all the way. And if you have ideas and, hey, we're having trouble with this, we check in with you. We do chartering. We help you set up a happiness coalition, because our goal, we want you to be successful, and we're there to support all the way.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Keep those questions coming, please. So, Kim, how do you go about measuring the impact of the Orange Frog strategies on student engagement and then learning outcomes? Because obviously we want the students to be successful.
Right. If districts would like us to help them do some measurement tools, but already districts have a lot of those tools in place already. And so we also tap into what they have in place so that we can see those changes. When we do the workshops for the students, we do a pre and a post test so we can kind of identify where are those areas that we're missing the mark. But certainly through climate surveys, survey data with parents, OST, a lot of that is with survey data when we survey the school day staff and students. But then, of course, we're also looking at behavior referrals. And so we're using, a lot of schools use Swiss data for that. We are helping schools identify areas where we can use measurements that are already, they already have. And so of course you do look at academics and you look at, where are we seeing those improvements in measures that are already in place.
Great, thank you. So you had a little bit of it with the Good Morning America clip, but so how could educators cultivate a culture of gratitude and positivity amongst the educators themselves?
Wow. It's really funny because it's hard for me to say how you can cultivate this, because what happens when we do this is you come up with a plan on how you want to implement gratitude and this culture within your district or your organization, and we help you create that plan. But just identifying, starting each day with, hey, what are we grateful for? One of the things that I loved about one of our districts in Texas was they wanted to make sure that no matter what happened during the day, and we all know there's a lot of stuff at the end of the day, that they meet, and on the way out the door, it's like, all right, give me a win. Give me a win. And we have to start scanning for those positive things that are happening. And they called it, we're going to end on a win. And if we can start on a positive and then end on a win and continue to teach our brains to scan for that, that's how it sustains, and that's how we start working with each other. I know a lot of organizations have their climates. Staff will check in with each other, green today or orange, because here's the thing, those problems aren't going to go away. And that's not to say that the other emotions that we feel, and the frustration and the anger and things that are going on, and some things that happen with families are not impacting us, and they are. But what we want to do is give staff and families and kids the tools to say, okay, this happened. Okay, now what can I do to kind of come back from this? Where can I find some strength to kind of move on and build that resilience? And there's something that happens in that post-traumatic growth, where if we can find those positives and those people that support us along the way, and we can say, hey, I had this person to fall back on, that's our social investment. One of the greatest predictors of our long-term happiness is our social investment in the people who are around us. And so we help organizations and we help districts create those teams, and who's going to be that person that we're going to tap into today, that, hey, I'm going to take the lead today and I'm going to make sure that everybody is okay. Whether that's putting some motivational something in mailboxes or a little treat, I mean, we all like that, or just saying, hey, you know what, I got you today. And it gives people a common language. It gives team a common language. And we've seen teams move forward better, stronger, more resilient, and really in tune with everybody, with each other.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kim. So I think we're going to close out from you and then hand over to Tammy.
All right. Very good.
Thank you all for joining us today. We will be sending out an email with the recording. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you all. Have a great day.